Hello, here we're going to cover some aspects of user registration and administration. Users can register using a process that verifies their email address. An email is sent to the user that forces the user to verify the email address from their inbox. Registration also uses an optional captcha as seen here. The user will enter their basic account details. Once they're done entering their details, you'll see this message. The user can now enter their email inbox to verify their email address. You should note that the user is not able to see any information that is for registered users until they have verified their email address. So here they will not yet be able to see the personal library. The administrator gets an email telling them that someone new has registered. We see here the user receives an email with a link to verify their registration, and the user would click this link and see now that their account has been verified. Now that the account has been verified, they would have access to features like the personal library that were intended for registered users. The admin can create, edit, and delete user accounts and roles which are used to control access to various portions of the website. First, let's take a look at user roles. We can see here there's a list of roles. We can add a new role. We can also choose whether or not to make a role public, which means that users can choose to add themselves to a role. In this case, we will not do that because we want to control who are contributors to the website, and whether this role is auto-assigned. So it means that as soon as a user is registered, they are given this role. We also do not want that. Let me click update, and now we have a new role. Now we can create users and add them to this role. Enter the user details. In this case, I'm using the user's email address as their username, which is generally a good idea because it's easy for persons to remember their email address. Here, we can choose to authorize the user. Even if a user is registered, they are not necessarily authorized to log in. So by authorizing or unauthorizing a user, we can keep their registration details while controlling whether or not they are able to log into the site. We can also decide whether or not to notify the user, in which case, when the registration is complete, the user will receive an email with the relevant details. We can also decide whether or not to enter a specific password for the user or to use a random password. And here we can see our new user among our list of users. Once we have a new user, we can always edit that user's details, which include assigning the user to one or more roles. So we have the user's basic information here. We can choose to unauthorize the user or force the user to change their password the next time they log in. We can also manage roles for the user. As an example, let's add this user to the contributors role. We can select effective and expiry date. So if this date is in the future, the user will not have access to these features until some point in the future, and the access will expire on this date. And we click add role, and we can optionally send an email to the user informing them they've been added to this role. We can also change the user's password, and we can also manage the user's profile details, which will be shown on their profile page. As we saw in earlier videos, the user can edit this information themselves.